Hey guys, how you doing? I meant to do this a while ago, but I hadn't had time. Been really busy. But December 7th, that's why I'm making this video. That was at this show here. December 7th is the night that Tommy Snow cut off his laces. The night that Tommy Snow left it all in the ring. After over 18 years of being in this business, I made the choice to hang it up. I didn't want to, but I love this business and I respect this business, and I'm not going to embarrass this business or put a black mark on it by getting in the ring and trying to perform and looking horrible. More horrible than usual. But that night, December 7th in Topeka, Kansas, was a very beautiful night. And, it was probably the most stress-free get-together, come together as one body of people that I've been a part of. And I'll never forget it. It was great. I do want to thank the people that donated people that donated door prizes and stuff to be raffled off. Windy Wine, Mr. Craig Keesman showed up, had some wine and got raffled off. Delicious. If you're ever in Osborne, Missouri, make sure you go to Windy Wine. Urban Salon in Topeka, Kansas. Shelly Noriega donated a basket full of stuff. She's probably the best in the Midwest when it comes to nail art, and whatever you need to look pretty, she will hook you up. And make sure you go to Urban Salon. Hempful Farms in Arizona, Chris Martin, they have a website. Look up hempfulfarms.com. They specialize in all kinds of health products with the CBD and other things like that. They're very, very knowledgeable, and he really, really cares. And you're not going to find a better group of people. hempfulfarms.com. I'd like to thank Don Stratton, Coors Miller, from donating the beer light and the fridge. It looked like a beer can. People loved that stuff. I'd like to thank Keith the Critic, who, if you guys look him up, Keith the Critic on Facebook. He also has, he shows movies around theaters and stuff, and he's a great guy, good to know. Let me think. There's so much that happened that night. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had it written down. If I forgot anybody, I sincerely apologize. Eric Woodard brought a couple autographed title belts. So a special shout out to him and a thank you. Let's see. That's about it. But it was a great night. A lot of happy people. Right now I'm just trying to piece everything together. But okay, well, here we go. I wanted to say this that night, but I couldn't. And it was just too hard to do. Every time I tried to get something out, the tears came down. Like I said, over 18 years. And well over 18 years ago, to start things off, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, MS, which a lot of people aren't too aware. There's not a whole lot of awareness about it, but that got me. I was scared and confused. I couldn't really walk. MS, pretty much, it affects your nervous system, and it's hard to walk, it's hard to talk. You get blurred vision, slurred speech. Like I said, hard to walk. Coordination's totally off. Today, I mean, my hands have been numb for years. But, so there I was. 25? Yeah, 25. Didn't know where I was going. And then that was the hand I was dealt. So I didn't want to, I don't know, I guess I felt bad about it for a while, the whole boohoo, why me thing, and then it just kind of dawned on me. It just, God didn't curse me. God challenged me. And, see, back then, it's not like there was today, where there's a indie promotion on almost every corner. You could throw a rock and hit somebody. Back then, there was hardly anything that was around. And so if a guy wanted to get into wrestling, he would have to really, really look, or go look up Harley Race in Missouri. It was pretty hard. And by pure luck, you see, I used to play in bands. I'd been a drummer, and it was a lot of fun. So being in front of a crowd was nothing new, but since a kid, I've always been involved in wrestling. Not involved in wrestling. I've always loved wrestling. Just watching the all-star wrestling growing up as a kid, getting up Saturday mornings. Cartoons. No, there's wrestling on. I want to watch this first. So that's pretty. My love for wrestling just went deep, and this guy asked me about doing some theme music for some wrestlers, and of course, automatically I just jumped on it. I'm like, okay, sure, great, all right, let's do it. Wrestling, yeah. And I went to the show, and I was going to talk to some guys. I've never physically, at this point, touched a wrestling ring. And there was one. And I was looking at it, and it was wild. And I ended up inside it, and a guy knew. He said, hey, this is what, we're going to take a bump. I said, take a what? And he goes, tuck your chin in your chest. And he walked me through it. And boom, I took my first one. Needless to say, I was hooked instantaneously. It was just, the light opened up and the stars and everything. Well, the show went, and there was a snafu with the payday, there was so it ended halfway through. But one of the guys there asked me, he said, I left this out. One of the guys asked me, he said, have you ever refereed before, ever wanted to get into wrestling? I said, no, but referee sounds kind of neat. I didn't think I could, being as I was, told I had MS and stuff like that. And so next thing I know, this guy throws me a ref shirt, and he goes, well, you've seen it on TV, hop in the ring, give it a shot. I was petrified. Made it through the first match, went good. Second match, started to get a little better. Then the show ended, like I said, snafu with the payday. And so I thought, well, there was my shot in wrestling. It was great. And about a few months later, I get a phone call. It was from this guy, and he says, hey, you still interested in refereeing? And I'm like, well, okay. He goes, well, there's this company called KPW. I said, all right. Who and what is KPW? It's Kansas Pro Wrestling. And so he gave me directions to this place in Horton, Kansas. And I went, and there was a ring set up. And I was like, oh, cool, a wrestling ring. So the guy asked me about, hey, why don't you, we're going to work a match, and we want you to referee it. I said, okay. So they worked a match, and I refereed it. It was all right. And then the guy looked at me, and he was a pretty good guy, and he said, so you want to get into wrestling? And I said, yeah, sure. And he goes, do you want to do this? I mean, and I said, well, referee, yeah, okay. He goes, okay, so we're going to have a show on this day. We'll need you to be there. And I said, sounds great. And that guy's name was JC Thunder. And so I went and refereed my first show. Wasn't anything what I thought. Pretty interesting setup. But I did it nonetheless, and I was so happy. I was all giddy. But one of the other guys says, hey, why don't you do this? I said, well, I don't know. And I didn't want to say that I'd been diagnosed with the disease. I didn't want to do it. One of the reasons why I was scared people were going to shun away. Or I would be blackballed, or I would not be able to just... I mean, here I was. I had finally gotten in, even just as a ref, I had gotten in, and I wanted to keep going. And then the guys were like, well, why don't you try this out? So I said, okay. And then it started. I would drive up a few days a week, sometimes 4 days a week, to Horton, Kansas, where I trained, just night after night, bump, 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 bump. Then we got a place in Holton, Kansas, which was a little closer, and I liked that. And once again, just bump, 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 bump. Show would come up, I'd referee. And then it was kind of funny. The crowd started yelling, snow ref, hey Al, don't you know how to count to 3? And I was getting all these snow references, and it was funny. And then the promoter said, we're going to call you Tommy Snow. I said, can I do that? They were like, why not? I said, well, okay. So I just went with it. Now this whole time I'm just training. Anything anybody could teach me, I would just learn. And then it come up, I got JC Thunder had asked me, he goes, well, why don't we have you manage first? I said, manage? Okay, I could do that. And he started me off as a bad guy, a heel. And I thought, okay, I can be a bad guy. Come to find out, it's pretty easy to be a bad guy, because it's easy to make people hate you. And we were in Leavenworth, Kansas. And me and a guy that I'd met, his name was Chatterbox Chad Phillips. We were doing commentary. He was the good guy, I was the bad guy. And it was a great mix. And so we did some shows in Leavenworth, and the whole time, once again, anytime anybody had something to teach me, I would learn it. I met some great guys that were just willing to help. Once again, there were no real wrestling companies around. There was not much. But anything I could learn, as often as I could get to Holton, Kansas, I was there. I'll never forget JC Thunder. I'm pretty sure I frustrated him. He's not a drinker, but I'm sure there was times he wished he was. Um, I was still trying to get the coordination back. During a good training session, I'd get hot, and sometimes the tingling and pins and needles and pain would really start up, but I just grin and bear it. And, I never said a word. I just told them I was uncoordinated and bad knees. I had bad knees, and just they were like, "Well, get you some knee braces." I'll never forget the time they tried to teach me how to do drop kicks, and I think everyone under 2'2" was pretty much safe for me ever drop kicking them. I might be able to kick the dirt off your shoe, but that was about it. But then I met up some other great guys. There's a guy named Derek Stone, very patient. Really walked me through some paces, just teach me different things. There are other guys that I would go to Valley Falls where they would train, and they were more than willing to help me, just anything. There were guys like Brian Ash, Gage Octane. Another guy at the time, he just wrestled as the Crow. But just always, hey, let's try this. Have you ever done this? And they were just very, very patient, very, very informative, and willing to help me out. And then I got my first match, and it went okay. And it just went off from there. And so, I'm not fast forwarding too much. This is all in the period of within, a year or so. And then I went to an autograph signing with Jonathan Coachman, and his father was there. And of course, he looks at me and goes, "You look like," I said, "I know." They were having a house show that night in Topeka, Kansas. And he comes up to me and says, "If you don't mind missing some of this next match, I would like to meet you." Well, I was really excited, but I was kind of scared. I was like, is he mad? No. I met Al, super cool guy, and I said, "Hey, I'm going under the name Tommy Snow." He goes, "Do people like it?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, they buy tickets." He goes, "Use the last name Snow. Go for it." He goes, "Other than me, there's a guy named Mitch Snow, and I think he committed suicide. Just have at it." And it was a huge, huge burden. I was like, whew. But, and I just took off from there. And then, time went on, getting more matches. Anywhere I could get a match, I would get it. Just here or there. And I remember I was, this whole time I'm pretty much a heel. And I remember getting walked to my car, having to hang out in the locker room till people had left. Because, I had a gift of gab. The promoter would say, "Hey, go outside, make them good and mad. Let's get the show going." Okay. And I think I said some things that would probably get me lynched today, because back then things weren't as PC. But, it was a lot of fun. And then this decision was made to turn me face. And to turn me face, that's where my character really started to develop. Tommy Snow really became Tommy Snow. And I used my MS to my advantage. Tommy Snow was dropped off by the short bus, which made him a little special. Well, whenever a match would go on or I'd get really hot, my speech would slur. So the best way to do that was, if people thought I was mentally challenged already, it was easy peasy. Everyone thought it was my character. For the longest time after shows, I would trip a lot or stagger. And first thing I would do was to make sure guys thought, I needed a few after show beers like right away. Which covered it up real good, real easy. And but the rest just went on from there, and I traveled. sacrificed a lot, you know, time with the kids. But I was doing it, and I was just on the road, and I was just going, because I didn't know what the next day was going to bring. And I just kept pushing. And I really met some of the greatest people along the way. Wrestling is a brotherhood. We sometimes shows are like miniature family reunions, because the only time we see each other is during a show, and it could be a week, 2 weeks, a month, just however. And but you see, and the thing is, it's not like you can just drive down the street and go see your wrestling buddy. You because where you live, other people might live 4 hours away, 5 hours away, 6 hours away, 2, 3 hours away. No one really lives in the same town. There's maybe a small group. I can think of, you know, my good friend, the big dog, Devin Scott, Chatterbox Chad Phillips. Those were pretty much the guys that lived really close to me. And as a matter of fact, we even started a tag team called Sin, Strength in Numbers, and that was a fun time. Then Deacon Kane was in it, and then I don't think, and there was a wrestler named Enigma, great friend of mine. You know, we never really worked that much. I think maybe once or twice. And but then time's going on. Anywhere I can get a match, I'm going. And I'm driving 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. It didn't matter. Overnight, all the way there, all the way back. Just as much as I could go, as hard as I could go. Just going. Some guys along the way that I met, there was a group that would come up from Nebraska who we used to refer to as the Omaha Boys, because they all live in Omaha. These guys became some of the closest friends, brothers that, you know, you could ever wish to meet. I'm talking about Ricky Reynolds, Brian Blade, Austin Storm, Donnie Pepper Cricket, who was just totally awesome. Any of those guys I just mentioned, if you haven't booked them, you should. I was in Pepper Cricket's wedding. His children are like my nephews. They're just wonderful guys, wonderful people. We formed my first tag team, which was Donnie Pepper Cricket, Ricky Reynolds, and the Iceman. We were called the Job Squad Second String. And we had fun. Young, goofy guys out there just kicking ass, taking names. The first tag team title I ever won was with the Iceman. And at that retirement show was the first time, and I'm pretty sure it was 14 years, maybe, we were all together. There we are. Now we look like the old squad, but we're still styling, profiling. Iceman, Ricky Reynolds, Donnie Pepper Cricket. Super cool guys. Like family pictures, you know. But that's just stuff along the way. And I remember the first time I was booked with Brian Blade in the MWA. Now, I had met Brian Blade years and years ago when I was refereeing. I remember there was this, refereed this match, and believe it or not, I guess it was Brian's first match. And we met from then. We went to get to know each other on down the road. He started his own promotion, and then just hit the ground running. I worked for Brian for many years, and Brian booked me with Larry Flint, and that's an inside joke. When you work with somebody in a match and you're working programs together and you're pretty much going town to town and you're wrestling each other, just, you know, show after show, you're considered married. So me and Eric Fantabulous were married for a long time. And I say Larry Flint because you want to talk about, woo, where we're going to party tonight? Oh, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. And guy went 900 miles an hour, and God bless him. There are nights we were both just tired and delirious, and we would run out of life to talk about, and then it was just the most, whatever we could say to stay awake, whatever we could say just to make it to the next town. Gallons and gallons of energy drinks, cartons of cigarettes, whatever it would take. If we ever got pulled over for speeding, that was me that got the ticket. Him, never, not a damn time. But I also had one of the most monumental, blood-curdling, bloodiest matches I ever had was with Eric Fantabulous in Lawrence, Kansas. We did it again in Junction City about 7 years later. It was good. My health had already started to deteriorate, but I was not going to miss the opportunity to do that match again. It was also a match where all the fans threw the chairs and buried us in the ring. I remember grabbing a chair, covering my head, and screaming at the top of my lungs. No, actually, I was just yelling at Eric. You know, bad idea, bad. But you live and learn, and it was fun. And but we traveled all over. We if there was a small town with a ring or a area flat enough to put a wrestling ring in, we were probably booked there. But I wouldn't give it up for the world. Just the experience and the knowledge, and it's just ring time that makes you keep getting better. And then the whole time everything's going on, and I'm different promotions. I met up with Dan Adams, a company called Bad Boys of Wrestling. And we hit it off real good. We're still friends today. It was Dan who saw something in me, started booking me in BBOW, wanted me to be a big good guy, and the crowd loved it. He was putting me in these crowds of just hundreds of people. It was Dan that hooked up with Ed Beckley, and I went to, and I wrestled, and it was like 3,500 people, and it was just amazing. And it was Dan Adams that got my tag team match with Al Snow. It was against him and Rick Steiner. And let me tell you something. You look across the ring and you see a guy wearing a dog collar and barking at you, and you know who it is. It's Rick Steiner. And you're going, this might suck. But no, it was the greatest match ever. I'm not going to say it wasn't the greatest match ever. For me, it was just awesome to actually be in the ring with them. And one thing is, I've always had the ability to sell really good. To the point to where, and I kind of pride myself on this, I actually have fooled even the boys thinking I was legitimately hurt or legitimately blown up. Blown up means out of breath. And I've had one guy say, hey, you got to breathe. And once we're walking back, he's like, man, you got to breathe out there. You're blown up. And we walk past the curtain. I stand straight up and go, I'm selling, brother. This is what we do. And his face just went, which was funny. You know, how can this old fat guy keep going? And I wrestled amateur for a long time. You learn how to breathe on your feet. I went to KCXW. They have a training center in Kansas City called XWC. And I did the cardio training for those great group of people. If you're in Kansas City and want to learn to be a wrestler, look them up. And, well, I'll skip forward. Well, before that, I got booked in Texas with Jack Logan. I had the time of my life down there. It was so much fun. Back then, they were called NWA Texas. Now they're called Top of Texas Wrestling. And just super great group of guys. And Jack Logan was the first person to ever put a heavyweight title on me. And not just a heavyweight title, he put the NWA title on me. And I wore it, I think it was just a month, because then I had to drop it to the heel at the time. But it was awesome. I Googled it, and if you look up NWA champions, somewhere in catalogs, I don't remember where it was, but I still see my name in there. And then things just went off from there. During shows, a lot of times you meet new people, and some of those new people might be promoters. I met another person who's just become family to me, John Bach from IWA Productions, he also had his heavyweight title on me. And it was just, I can't thank them enough. And once those belts happen, next thing you know, I'm getting tag team titles, and then people knew I was not the most flamboyant in the ring, but I could really do the hardcore matches and make them look good. And I'm doing them a lot. I can't tell you how many boxes and boxes of thumbtacks, or how excited I was when Dollar Tree or Dollar General would sell them, and I could buy them in bulk. And so I'm doing all these hardcore matches. I'm getting hardcore titles. I kind of got, I guess we could say, addicted to the bloodbath, where if I didn't have a crimson mask, I wasn't working hard. Which, you could still probably see some, they're all still there. But, of course, from a distance, if you get enough of them, look, new skin. But it's all right. But those people I mentioned, and the companies, you just go, and it's a lot of the time we greet each other. Hey brother, how are you? Hey brother, what's up? Or just my wrestling sisters, like Pip or Paula. I can never Star. All right, I'll just go with that. I see him. Hey sissy, what's going on? Or Paula, or oh jeez, you ever try to say something and it just goes poof, Bela Valen, those are just my wrestling sisters. They're my family too. And it was so much, it's just, it's a tight knit, there's not a lot of us, so when we see each other, it's always fun. And I can't go on without saying anything about OCW. OCW was, super great time. Mike Ortega, Daniel Brown, they said, hey, let's resurrect this company and get it going. I said, okay. And some of the most loyal and passionate fans are in Oakland, Kansas. And we really just blew the roof off the place a lot of the time. I had a great time. We had just super fun. And this video is kind of over a half hour, and I know most of you don't have the attention span to see that. So I'm just going to wrap this up and say on December 7th, in front of my friends, my family, right there, on December 7th, Tommy Snow cut his laces off, and my MS has just progressed to where I can hardly walk anymore. I gotta carry one of these things, but I did what I had to do for the benefit of wrestling, for the benefit of companies to keep things going. I want to say special thanks to everybody that showed up. Space Cowboy from Mid-States in Arkansas. Can't remember how many great memories I've had down there. If you're in Arkansas, check them out. There's just so many companies and so many names. And I'm going to rewatch this, and I might have to just do this again. One thing I will say that the longest feud I ever had was with Chatterbox Chad Phillips. And that last night, he handed me a clip. And yes, his thing was he would break a clipboard over my head all the time. But that night, he broke a clipboard. No, he handed me a clipboard, and I went to go break it over his head. I just hit him with it. I could have broke it over his head, but some streaks are just not meant to be broke. I wanted to give that to Chad. Like I said, all the fans that I've ever met, I love you guys. I couldn't have been Tommy Snow without you. You is what made Tommy Snow. Now, even international fans, like the Pitbull from Perth. Yes, my friend Damien from Australia. We've become great friends. Someday we will physically actually meet. If I forgot anybody, I apologize. All my wrestling brothers and sisters, some of them I talk to frequently. PM Money, Rockstar Brandon Bennett. Love you guys. My buddy Samich. Yes, that's his name, Samich. The stories we got are just funny. Someday I will get my stuff together, write a book, and then I'll just let it all go in there. But I see I've talked for over a half hour, and hopefully that some of you guys can still have the temperament to keep watching this. I want to say thanks to Jason Lindsay. I want to say thanks to XWE, Billy, your crew down there. You guys are awesome. You guys are young and hungry. Flex Reed, WWX, who I'm proud to say I am the first inductee into the WWX Hall of Fame. I am very honored and very humbled. I would just gotta say thanks. Some of the guys met along the way. Let me see. Owens, Big Dog, even Bones, crazy bastard. You want to see, one of the highlights was I was actually in Fox Sports Magazine. I went, took the guy on the road. We went to a WWX show and had a good time. It's a pretty long read, but a good one. At least I think so. I think I know that guy. And, but that's really all I got for now. This thing, it went way longer than I thought it was going to go. Maybe I should edit it down, or it's just going to kick me off and say you can't. I don't know. But once again, you fans are the ones that help keep me going. My wrestling family I had to make this video and give shout outs to special fans and friends. Roger Randall, Drew Walker. Love you guys. Known you guys for a long time. Anybody else, if I forget you, I'm truly sorry. You can send me a message, call me an asshole, whatever you got to do. But I've had the time of my life. I had someone tell me that they said, Tommy, you're not my hero, but you're legendary. I said, well, what's the difference? And they said, well, heroes will live forever, but legends never die. And it made me smile. And I hope that it keeps going. I hope when you see a hardcore match, you see some goofy antic, it makes you smile, and you can say, yeah, I remember that Tommy Snow guy. Much like, when I was younger, seeing guys back then, if I see someone rip a shirt off or do something crazy, there's a certain wrestler that pops in my head. But I hope I made an impact. And the worst thing about a wrestler is you always want to be remembered, you never want to be forgotten. And I hope I made a big enough impact, and so some people know that, hey, you got something ailing you, something makes you sick, you can't do 100%. You know, hey, remember that one wrestler? He had MS, and he did it. And I hope it keeps you going. I hope it motivates you to live your dream, to push forward, and to never give up. Never quit. And with that, I'm going to get off here. Love you very much.